Hey, so I'm making a game which is a weird combination of Rimworld space engineers and Mountain Blade. Imagine a Rimworld, but the map is a 3D space object. If it's a ship, you can pilot it around the open world. The fiefs of Mountain Blade are replaced with stations that produce goods. Ships are pretty much like parties. So it's actually very similar to Star Sector, but every station exists in the open world and you can actually board it. I was also inspired by the unique starts of Kenshi. You might be a human farmer or some kind of carnivorous egg-laying creature. But first I want to back up a bit. I went through several ideas for the game I wanted to make before deciding on this one. First was a roguelike set in an ice cave. The goal was to survive as long as possible. A month in, I wanted to scrap it since it was just too small and a dumb idea in general. I have this need for some reason to make a open world RPG. Terms like feature creep and scope creep, I ignore them for the most part and the people who talk about them. Keeping it small is good for like platformers and but not this one, and I can't help myself. Anyway, I took the first project and morphed it into something completely unsalvageable. An attempt to make like a Rimworld open world thing. As you can see, it's got a bunch of hunky naked men getting attacked by wolves. The plants can grow, you can mine, there's an inventory/gear system. It was hard to grow the game any further than this because how bad the code was. I had some problem areas. S and O of the solid principle. I was putting too much responsibility into one class, kept adding to existing classes instead of separating concerns into a new class. I needed to use the service locator pattern. Whenever you're creating any program, you'll have your main driver and a number of what we'll call services to use. These need to be initialized, and the code I had to initialize them was awful. Using dependency injection, I was able to inject that service locator into various classes, which meant I could reuse that reference and pull any service I wanted from anywhere. It's clean, and to this day I don't ever feel like I'm held back by readability or maintainability. The goal was to create a fully open world simulation faked as little as possible. That came with some technical struggles. Getting the ships to turn smoothly was a painful physics problem. I had no idea about the need for an origin shift. Unity uses floats for its vectors, and I could see the problem at about 100,000 units or so. So now I center the origin at the player's position every 5,000 units. The last thing I want to mention was not really that complex per se, but the sheer volume of AI I had to create for ships and creatures to make a believable world is staggering. If you're making a game yourself, you should learn about the state pattern. It seems necessary. Alright, all that nerd stuff is out of the way, let's talk about features. Here are some of the things you can do so far in the game. You can fight on foot, dodging, blocking, and attacking. When it comes to melee, your attacks depend on your species and what weapon you're holding. Range is about making use of cover to avoid getting shot. Your accuracy, speed, and melee damage depend on your skills and attributes. When you want to go somewhere, hop into the pilot seat. Friendly stations give you access to quests and trade. You can board other ships and stations through teleportation. Most places are randomly generated and not part of the faction system. They're meant to be used in quests and for exploration. The game will generate around 16,000 of these. I created a simulation where creatures are actively crafting, trading, and fighting each other in real time. The skill of each individual contributes to shaping the economy and the outcomes of war. How a faction reacts to you depends on their disposition, but also the culture of the faction. For example, orc factions will usually just attack you outright. Stations are crucial to establishing your faction. You can manage ships from stations and make new ones. They will trade, fight, or mine for you. In general, it's much easier to survive on a station rather than a ship. New migrants will come in every so often, appropriate to your faction's culture. Now, all that sounds good, but there is a lot to be done. Many of the systems that are implemented aren't fully polished. There's no lore. Any faction name that you might have seen will be changed. I planned on making a main questline for most of the major factions. the more sentient ones at least. All the art is bad and doesn't represent the final art style, so down the line I'm going to need to probably get someone else to do it, because I kind of just suck. Ships in major stations and lower are fully prefabricated. I made that decision because the ships I was generating were strange and box-like. I made an editor for this purpose, so what I'm going to be doing is some Minecraft builds. Random smaller stations are generated in a way similar to how many games do it. Interchangeable prefabs that attach seamlessly. These stations are generated on the fly as they're approached. For now though, I'm going to focus on adding some additional systems. I need to add medical work, like bandaging and so on, as well as new medical items. An injury system is needed so that the player and AI can use medical items on themselves and each other. Space livestock for some additional scope creep. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for making it this far. If you have some suggestions based on what you've seen, I do welcome it. If you want to see how the game turns out, just like sub or something, you know? I'll see you.